What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of SWV and Escape, the Queens of R&B, Season 1, Episode 2, Pray on It. Now, I watched the first episode, but I didn't do a review because I wasn't sure if I was going to do a review on this show or not. But when I watched Episode 1 and I saw all the drama that unfolded, I was like, yeah, I got to do a review because there's a lot to talk about here. Now, I grew up listening to SWV and Escape. Their music was the soundtrack of my high school years. Every black girl that I knew wanted to look just like them. They were it for me back then. I think they were extreme. For me, they were very, very popular. I want to say it had to have been like mid 90s to late 90s. They ruled the charts. And yeah, they were everything to me. I loved SWV and Escape. So, of course, now I made up my mind. I'm definitely going to be reviewing this show because I didn't know that they had all of this going on. So, the situation between Latasha and Tamika. The episode started with they were still at their mother's house, and Tamika had just brought up this whole thing about the money, accusing her sister Latasha of stealing $30,000 from her when these royalty checks were being sent to there were Tamika's royalty checks, but for some reason they were being sent to Latasha. Now, I don't know if they explained why the checks were being sent to Latasha. If they did explain it, I completely missed it because I have no idea why. But Latasha knew these checks were Tamika's. According to Tamika, she knew these checks were her sister's, and she kept them, and they were deposited into her husband's account and never told Tamika about it until much later on. Tamika found out, confronted her sister. Her sister denied it. And on her YouTube channel, Tamika talks about how she had to pay taxes on that money. She had no benefit of the $30,000, but she had to pay taxes on it. And then she had also mentioned, I don't know if it was on her YouTube channel or on the show, she had mentioned that, I think it was on the show, she said that when she told her mom about it at the time when it was actually happening in real time, when she had told her mom about it, her mom had told her that, well, maybe Latasha needed the money more than you. And Tamika was like, I had a baby, I had a kid in college, I was pregnant. What are you talking about? That she needed the money more than me. So basically, Latasha took money away from her sister's kids, out of just pure greed. That's how Tamika's making it seem like. And between the two of them, I'm kind of leaning more towards on Tamika. Now, the body shaming comment when Tamika said, if you had an A to kiss, when Latasha told her to kiss her A, I could kind of see that as body shaming because maybe Latasha's always felt some kind of way about her rear end, that it was never as plump and voluptuous as it should have been. And then here you have your sister telling you, well, if you had an A to kiss, I'd kiss it. I can kind of see that as I think it was more jokey, but I can kind of see it. I see what Latasha's saying. I will give her that. Now, a lot of people don't agree. They think that, Tamika was just, being funny. It was no big deal. It wasn't body shaming, but I can see how Latasha took it as body shaming. So on the show, in that scene when Tamika was arguing with her mom in front of her house when the mother had kicked everybody out, Tamika was like, she took that money from me. She took that money from me. And her mom acted like she had no idea what was going on. And Tamika does believe that her mom favors Latasha more over her. And that was like clear as day. Stevie Wonder could see that the mother favors Latasha over Tamika. It's so obvious. So the next day, Tamika, she's at, I think she was at Candy's house, and she's telling Candy and Tiny about what happened at her mother's house. And Tamika says that their mom has sent her a message, saying that if she ever jumped on Tasha again, that she would kick her tail. Her own mother threatened to attack her if she ever, got aggressive with Latasha or accused Latasha of anything. Her own mother threatened her. I'm just like bewildered. And I know that there are parents out there that do show favoritism, but to see it actually unfolding in front of your eyes and to see the effects that it's having it's just really sad. So Tamika says that she's always had defended her sister to a fault. She tells Candy and Tiny, I defended her so much that it caused friction between her and the rest of the group members, especially her and Candy, because she would blindly defend her sister Latasha. And Latasha ended up, did Latasha show up? I don't remember if Latasha, no, she didn't come. Latasha didn't come, but because no, she did not. She did not go to Candy's house. But we did see Latasha at her own house with her husband, and she was contemplating whether or not she was going to actually still do the tour. I mean, from the jump, I don't know if I watched their series in 2017. I don't remember if I watched it or not. But if I did watch it, I don't remember Latasha being this disagreeable. I mean, from episode one, Latasha is just coming off really bad. It was a horrible idea for her to do this reality TV show, especially since she has all of this animosity towards group members, towards her sister. It was a horrible idea for her to do this show. So then we see Lily. So Lily from SWV, she talks about, she's at home with her sister, who was like the matriarch of the family. Her parents passed away when she was in her 20s. She got pregnant at 15, but she overcame the challenges of being a young single mom, and she made it into music stardom, because despite being pregnant at a very young age, she made her dreams come true. She talks about how she had to share a bed with her sister growing up, and one of the things she had always wanted was her very own bed. So when they finally made it with her first check, she bought herself a king size bed. I thought that was a really cute story to tell, to showcase, someone accomplishing their dreams and, being able to satisfy a wish that they've had ever since they were a very small child. So then Taj from SWV meets up with Tamika from Xscape, and Tamika tells her about the issues with her sister and her mom, and how she's, always defended her sister. Even when her sister was clearly wrong, she would still stand up and defend her sister. And Taj was like, well, why do you do that? And she said, because it was the only way to get my mother's acceptance, because the mother favored Latasha, and if Tamika stepped in line and followed Latasha and agreed with Latasha, that's when her mother would also accept her. And this is really sad. And I don't know if Tamika is over these issues, because she seems like a very strong person, and it seems like it still affects her, but she understands the what's up. She knows exactly why she was treated the way she was treated. But I'm wondering if she ever got therapy for these issues, because these are some very deep rooted issues. It's just horrible stuff that happened to her. So then moving on to Tiny. So they're meeting at Tiny's house for an Xscape meeting. Everybody shows up. Latasha shows up kind of late. She drags herself to Tiny's house, and she says that the only reason why she came was for the love that she has for Tiny. Latasha says that Tamika hasn't reached out to her since they were at their mother's house, and she has yet to apologize to her and her mother. Girl, every time you open up your mouth, you are just making yourself look worse and worse and worse. Nobody who watched that scene at the mother's house would think that Tamika needed to apologize to Latasha or their mom for anything. So then they start talking business. The discussion goes to their management group. So after they did verses, it was sort of expected that they should have capitalized on them being on verses. It kind of like renewed attention on them again, got people thinking and talking about them again, and they should have capitalized on that popularity, that newfound popularity, or that renewed popularity. But the management team didn't do anything about it. And so they're talking about how the management team has been very, lackluster, hasn't really done much to really push them, push their brand out there. And so they're trying to figure out what to do with the management. Now, the kicker is the management team is friends with Latasha's husband, Rocky. And so they are like looking at Latasha like, okay, so what do you think about this? And she says, I need to pray about it. And Candy says that Latasha will never give an answer if her husband, who Candy called the brain, if her husband isn't there to consult with, to tell her what to say. And she won't say or do anything without consulting it with her husband first. And then they show a clip of Latasha in her confessional, and the producer asked her a question about something, and then Rocky came out and whispered something in her ear. And yeah, like, this woman is one of those type of women. You know what I'm saying? Like my husband is the leader of my household, and where my husband leads, I follow type of woman. And it don't matter how much of a bonehead he is. Wherever he goes, I follow. Okay, girl. So Tamika says, she asks her sister, why are you still mad at me? And Latasha says, okay, we're not going to talk about this here because this involves my mother and she's not here. And so then Tamika pounced on that and she was like, your mother? And Latasha's like, okay, I meant our mother. So they go back and forth on that. And so Latasha was like, yeah, we're not going to talk about this without mom being present. So Tamika talks about how she really misses her sister the way she used to be. I'm not exactly sure what changed. What made Latasha change? But they show clips from the 2017 series that they did, and they were just like BFFs. They were laughing together, having a good time with one another. Tamika talks about how, her sister was her best friend, and here they are, barely speaking, with this situation between. It's just really sad. Now what I want to know is, if they were getting along so well in 2017, what happened? Number one. Number two, what caused now Tamika did say that what made her bring up the money situation was because she had heard from Tiny. I think Tiny had said, I think it was from Tiny, but somebody had told Tamika that Latasha had said that when they start recording for this show, Latasha had said that she was going to show them who she really is, them being Tamika and Candy. And so that already kind of, like, when they began recording, there was already this tension between the two sisters. But if they were getting along so well in 2017, what in the world happened between then and now? Because 2017, Tamika still knew that her sister stole the money from her. So why would she bring it up now? Like, what caused her to bring it up now? What was the catalyst that started this tension between the two sisters? That's what I want to know. So Tiny and Candy, they decide that until the two sisters resolve their personal issues, they're not going to be able to resolve anything regarding the entire group. So they need to figure that out ASAP. So, and then Tasha says that she's not going to move forward with her sister until the sister apologizes to their mother. Now, moving on to Taj. So we see Taj, she's at home with her boys, and her boys being her son and her husband. And so she's talking to her son about how she's going to be going on tour possibly with Xscape, and asking her son, has he ever heard of Xscape? And then she sung one of their songs, and I think it was Every Man Loves a Woman, Just Kick It. And so she asked her son, have you ever heard of this song? And the son was like, no. It's just funny to me how it makes me feel so old when I think about the songs that were so popular when I was young, but this younger generation, they have no idea. So her son is a senior, and so Taj worries about, her being away for work, going on tours, because she says SWV, she says SWV works the majority of the year. They are working. And she's gone a lot from home. And so she misses a lot, of the things that her son is doing. And she's like, I don't want to miss too much from his senior year. He's going to be a senior, and I don't want to miss too much, because of work. And I'm just so happy that these girls are still working, and that they still they're all of them, SWV, Xscape, beautiful women, still talented. I'm just so happy that these women are still working, because y'all don't know how much I loved these groups when I was a teenager. So then we see Coco. Coco comes home to her mom and her 19-year-old son. Coco has two sons, but I think the 19-year-old still lives with her. The mom raised Coco in church. Okay, she raised her with the Bible, and it was a big deal for Coco to tell her mom that she wanted to sing R&B. When they first started SWV, she told her mom that it was a gospel group, because otherwise her mom wouldn't have let her join. So when they first got their deal and they were going to be successful, she said her mom finally accepted her singing in an R&B group. When she bought her mom a car, then her mom was like, okay, girl, you can go ahead and sing those R&B songs. So she has two boys. Her oldest son is a rapper. Jalen, the 19-year-old that we saw, he was going to be a dentist. But Coco says all of a sudden he got the singing bug and now he wants to be a singer. And the grandmother was like, because they were talking about this, how he was supposed to be a dentist, but now he wants to be a singer. And I think Coco was trying to convince him to still go the dentist route because it's a lot more secure. And then the grandmother steps in and says, "Can I say something?" And then Jalen says, "If you want to." And I was like, oh, that's how we talk to our grandmothers? Okay. All right then. Moving on from there, Candy. So Candy, she's in the studio with her engineer and her DJ, and they talk about the situation with her group Xscape, and how there's this Oh, and Todd also joins them. So she talks about how there's this situation going on, and with the group they're having conflict again, and they talk about this resentment between her and Latasha. So evidently there was always this rivalry between Candy and Tasha. When they were in the group, there was always a struggle between who was going to sing the lead vocals. Now, Candy can sing. Okay, Candy can definitely hold a note. But y'all, you got to give it to Latasha. Latasha can blow. Latasha can bring the house down. Candy can sing, but Latasha can sing. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, to me, it's like a no-brainer that Latasha would have gotten most of the leads. Now, on Just Kick It, that part, that opening part, Every Man Loves a Woman, that Candy does, I mean, that's iconic. That part was made for Candy. I just can't imagine Candy. I mean, Candy, no. Latasha has to be the lead. I'm so sorry. Latasha has to be the lead. Her voice is just so much more powerful. And Candy is good with I don't know what they call it. I don't know if they call it harmony or what, the backup vocals or whatever it is. Whatever she did with Xscape was good. Okay, it was just right. Didn't do too much, didn't do too little. It was just right. So something's going on with Latasha getting in the way. Candy's like, there's something going on with Latasha, obviously, because as soon as we seen her when this show first started, episode 1, Latasha's just off. She's a little bit off. There's something going on with her. And Candy's like, it's getting in the way of our money because, Latasha really hasn't committed to doing the tour. Now, moving on to Latasha. She's having breakfast with her husband. She talks about the issues between her and Candy and when it came to singing lead. Now, her version is that according to Latasha, Candy was always worried that Jermaine was grooming Latasha to finally go solo. That was like Candy's biggest concern. And Latasha tells us that she was working on a solo album, during that time, but all of a sudden her solo project got shelved. And next thing you know, Candy releases a solo album. And so, Latasha obviously didn't like that. So there's always been this rivalry between the two women. Now, this was back in 1998, by the way. Then we see Latasha with her husband. They go to a meeting at a record label. I think it's Motown Gospel Group, and they meet with two of the executives at that label. And it's basically the fact that she wants to do a solo album, a solo gospel album, I'm assuming. And when the executive is talking to her, the executive is asking her, okay, so how are you, how do you juggle between the group and doing this solo project? And she says that her group members don't even know that she's there. And they don't even know that she's, fishing around for a solo deal. And so the executive was like, okay. Then the executive asked her, well, are you the kind of artist that can just, just start singing anywhere and, still do the damn thing? Just, if I asked you to sing a song right now, would you be able to do it? So she starts belting out a song. It sounded good, whatever. Everybody was excited. And so Tasha says, everything is going to work out because I have God in my heart and my man by my side. So the executive says to her, well, we definitely have a place for you here, but what does that mean for Xscape? And Tasha says, good question. And that's where the episode ended. Tasha is very self-serving. She seems to be very selfish. It's all about her. Now, I know that Tasha probably has a lot of resentment. Not necessarily just resentment, period. She probably has resentment with her group members, probably has resentment with the public, because I feel like she tells a story in episode 1. She told a story how when they were in Boca Raton, Florida, performing, and she brought the house down, she gave it her all, and some staffer at the event, at the venue, had said something about, oh, that big one can really sing. And so that she says she's always remembered that. That has stuck with her throughout all of these years. That comment had really stuck with her because it was like she was only seen as the big girl. Like, didn't even bother to say her name. And I'm thinking to myself, Tasha, out of all the things that were said about Xscape, and a lot of things were said because Xscape was always being compared to the prettier groups, such as Destiny's Child and Vogue. And they were always seen as a little bit rough around the edges. They were always seen as a little bit more street than the other prettier, more refined girl groups. Out of all the things that were said about Xscape, that's the comment that really stuck with you, that someone said the big girl can sing? Because, y'all, I know firsthand that a lot of ugly things were said about Xscape. And her being called the big girl was not the worst. It was not. Jermaine himself, I think there was a documentary or something. Jermaine Dupri himself talked about how the names that they were called and how they were treated. And it was horrible, the things that were said about them on TV, on national television, the things that other people would say about them. You know, celebrities, talk show hosts. It's kind of, it was bad. But anyways, like Def Comedy Jam, those comedians it was horrible. So I'm just surprised out of all the things that were said that's what stuck to her. But obviously Latasha has suffered a lot as far as being made fun of and criticized for her looks. And I know she carries a chip on her shoulder because of that, but they were all made fun of. Now, she was the heavy one, and that probably did not sit well with her, but she got rid of all of that weight. I'm like, girl, when are you going to get over it? When are you going to get over the past and embrace the future and the present? But I feel like in her mind, maybe she always sees herself as still as that fat girl, the fat one of the group. And maybe she just can't shake that. I don't know what is going on with Latasha, but Latasha has some serious issues. Everybody else seems to be pretty happy and satisfied with their life, except for Latasha. I mean, she just seems extremely bitter. Very, 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 very bitter. And I just don't understand why. I don't get it. And I feel like it's just maybe she just has a lot of unresolved issues of her body image and how she was viewed. I don't think she's ever really seen herself as the way she is now. I think when she looks in the mirror, she still sees the girl that she was back in the 90s. Anyway, that's my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.